Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Universe. I am Aaron St. Dennis. Follow me everywhere at FF Mad Scientist, joined by Jesse Moeller at JMoeller05. We are here on some Monday Mayhem, getting ready to kick off Scott Fishbowl roster reviews, because that's all anybody seems to care about right now. So today we have, I think it's 24, 25 of them. We're not going to spend too long on any particular roster. We're going to kind of do them rapid fire, give them a grade, based on a letter, strength, weakness, anything that really stands out. I'm sure some will spend more time on than others. Some of these I haven't sorted through. I know there's a few in here that look like they aren't actual Scott Fishbowl drafts. So we'll see how it goes. We are going to start off with AWL Sabermetrics. What are your thoughts here? He obviously went quarterback heavy. Thoughts?
Yeah, I talked about this one with Jeremy. Overall, you see the strategy. The two elite quarterbacks early. Now they're not rushers, but that's okay. These are the two of the best passing quarterbacks in the league. So if you're going to go for the passing quarterbacks, might as well go for it. You get your difference-making tight end, Kincaid, and then it's the volume backs mixed in with guys we expect to be the wide receiver ones on their offenses, so kind of important players in the offense. You get a couple more volume guys. Most are the volume's a little bit debatable, but it's around 10. I think he's a solid pick in that range. And then you kind of see it shift a little bit where he starts chasing a little bit more upside. Mims is the freaking dart throw. And then it's like a back-end tight end one, Hunter Henry. And then it's just a lot of dart throws, right? It's guys with either special teams roles or it's guys with pathways like being the wide receiver one, Jamario Douglas, a tight end late, and then a couple just kick returners and kicker to finish it out. So you kind of see how his strategy goes. Overall, it's a fine strategy. Like, this roster will be decent. I may be worried about maybe Pittman a little bit and Cooper in that group, but overall, I think this is a fine roster. I'm not particularly too heavily swayed one way or the other. What about you with this roster?
Most of these I grade based on the left side. The right side, from round 12 on, it's all mostly dart throws. There's occasionally going to be someone where I really love someone who fell, or I really hate someone he picked, but most of it comes down to the left side. I love the quarterbacks he got. I like that he went tight end early. I don't necessarily love Kincaid as that tight end, but it looked like 4 tight ends were off the board, so he got probably one of the better ones available. I would have probably gone more Pitts, Kittle, depending on who was left. I like his running backs here. He got some good value ones, it seems like. Pacheco, Stevenson, Mostert, Moss. None that are, insanely high value. They're kind of undervalued guys. I like them. Weakness for me looks like his receiving core. I really like who he started with. Pittman and Cooper seem to be good volume guys for me. Falls off a little bit here with Hollywood Brown, so much uncertainty. Mims is the dart throw. Williams going to start the season on the pup. Then we're throwing darts. So I'm going to give this probably a B. I don't love his tight end, but I don't hate it. For me, it's kind of the wide receiver depth is going to be an issue. But in this format, that's not necessarily a problem because I think wide receiver was the least valuable of all of it.
Yeah, 100%.
What would you grade?
Yeah, I said like B. I think I said B+ on the original show. I'll stick with that rating for him.
So we probably got some of these done already, but it's all right. Corey, what's this say? Corey Dirksen. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here, timestamp and whatnot. Corey Dirksen here. What do you think about this one?
Hey, respect to the Lamar gang. Started out with Lamar for a shot. Amon-Ra, I've kind of been down on these wide receivers, but you're getting a guy who could be the wide receiver one in the season. If you're getting that guy in the 207, the value's completely fine with that. So I'm okay with that. And then he went for just the volume backs and Henry, Pacheco mixing straight out the gate, those three. Really, those are the guys that are incentivized by the scoring format. The DJ Moore pick is kind of him and Han on back and forth. I guess it just depends how you view him in that wide receiver room. And if he can produce what he did last year, I think it's going to be a little difficult. Kirk Cousins, I talked about this on one of their shows. I don't want these passing quarterbacks who, unless they can hit 40-plus touchdowns in that range, I'd rather wait till round 10 and get the Genos or those guys. So I don't like reaching for my QB2, but the whole Superflex format forces people to do it. So I completely understand the rationale doing it. I just don't like the value on that pick. Then you got Monty, who was really good last year, should be solid this year. Probably regress a little bit. The upside you could see with Shakir, and then the Nick Chubb pick. I'm not taking Nick Chubb there personally. I don't want to do that, even though we saw the tsunami barn, all that fun stuff. That's just too much risk for me. And then we moved down. We got Noah Fant, which I don't know why Noah Fant's going that early, but hey, more power to you if you like him. And then the returners, you just see these nonstop returning guys coming in. So you take a shot on Sam Darnold, who could be the overall starting starting quarterback, and go from there.
I think Nick Chubb's ultimately going to be a wasted pick because of the injury, but at that value, like he was going in a lot of them, like 6th, 7th, 8th round. So 12th round, I don't hate it nearly as much. I don't mind. I like Lamar as his first pick. Cousins, I don't love as his second quarterback here, but you see QB 21 in the 7th round means they were probably flying off the board pretty quick. The receivers, I like St. Brown. Don't love DJ Moore as your second, but it gets uglier from there. His wide receivers fall off in a quick freaking hurry. Running backs, he kind of just went with the value guys who fell, I think, here. There's some volume plays. There's a lot of boring guys in it. I think this is probably a playoff roster. Don't necessarily know if this is a league-winning roster. I probably see this one as maybe a B minus. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's got some potential. I think this is kind of like the floor team. Like it'll be consistent. You'll probably win a lot of games. I don't see this being like the highest scoring team on a weekly basis very often.
Yeah, these are the teams that kind of lack the sex appeal we talk about, but overall they're solid and they'll give you a chance to contend, which is kind of what you're looking for. But like when you will come away looking from this roster, you're kind of just left like wanting a little bit more. So I'm in that like C plus B minus range. Like that's where I'm kind of out with that roster. It's solid. You know what you're going to be in contention for playoffs as long as you don't deal with injuries.
Next up, we got Tim and his team. So I guess I'll start here. He goes receiver, obviously at the end of the board. Jefferson Chase, that's about as good as you can do at receiver. I like the value who got in quarterback in Love and Goff. I hope Love can repeat. I don't know if Goff necessarily has the ceiling. I like Rachaad White as his RB1 there. That's pretty solid for a 4th round value. Jones, if he stays healthy, could be all right. Javonte, I probably would have liked a lot better as his RB3 a week ago. It's getting scary now. Charbonnet, Tracy, Bigsby all have some injury upside. So I don't mind his wide receiving or his running back room. Wide receivers are stacked, obviously, too early. Then he adds in Pickens and Reed and Watson, who are pretty much 3 high variance, high upside guys. The tight end, if you're going to wait till the 9th round for a tight end in this format, Freiermuth's not the worst you can do. So I think this is probably a B plus for me. Like I love the wide receivers. The quarterbacks are pretty solid given where he went. I think the running backs, obviously his weakness. I mean, you're going to have Freiermuth rekindle some magic here from a couple years ago, but I like this team. I think it has a lot of – he's going to have some bad weeks when especially the receivers don't go off, but he's got 5 receivers there who could put up 25-point weeks at any minute. So I like it. I don't love that his wide receiver 4 and 5 are teammates. I don't love 2 Green Bay Packers receivers, but what do you think?
Yeah, he also has 2 Steelers guys in the top 10 picks too. So you're actually, so he's like really throwing darts into those offenses. I wonder with like the Jones and White pick, like the volume is there, but it's not going to be high end rushing volume. And if with Jones, we've kind of seen it go him and flex. So like his draft hinges on those 2 guys, and like specifically Aaron Jones, like he needs both of those guys to do good things. Javonte in the 10th, like it's a fine dart if you want to go with it. We've seen how risky it is. And then the backside, like with that wide receiver room, I am worried about Pickens and Reed and like the volume and if those guys could be the wide receiver ones. Like Jaden Reed only saw like 2 snaps in 2 wide receiver sets last year. Like he was not on the field. So he needs to take a step forward. Christian Watson, you're finding the wide receiver one there. I don't mind the back half. The back half, you're taking upside shots on guys like Franklin, QJ Baker. I just do wonder on taking like the Bakers and the QJs in that range if you had better options available, if it was returners or running backs, different positions to give yourself a little more volume. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like it's a solid room. I like it. I'd say it's like a B for me.
The back end of my draft looks similar to this. Franklin, Tracy, Baker. I think I have Theo instead of Bellinger, but a lot of just upside young players where at that point I'm done going for the boring guys who are older. I'm just shooting and hoping I can hit. You know, if you hit out of these last 10 picks or so, if you hit the Puka or the Kyron Williams, it's worth it, and you don't care if the other 8 picks are a waste. So I think I agree there. I did the same thing as him. Was just shooting.
I really like the Bo Nix if you're going to go late quarterback. Chase the scrambling quarterback who the market leans into. Like that one I like.
He stacked him with Franklin, who probably won't see his starting lineup, but still. Let's take a look at this one. I can't tell. This looks like it probably is a Scott Fishbowl, but it's not in the easiest format to read. No, what is this?
Oh, I think this is from Fantasy Life. This was like they took a screenshot. Yeah, no, like from the Fantasy Life website where you look at they have the draft board displayed. It looks like they took a screenshot of it. And it's it's hard to read that. Like I can barely read that. We might need to expand that because that is tough to read.
You can't really. It's zoomed as much as it'll go. So
yeah,
so he's got Hurts and Mayfield as his quarterbacks with Flacco and Penix as the backups. That's obviously he's got one of the top quarterbacks, and Baker's a solid one there in the 8th round. Kelsey as his tight end is nice. Goddard as the backup is good for a backup. Running backs are ETN, Rashad White, Pollard, Zeke, Tracy Estime. So I like his top two. Then it falls off pretty solidly. Wide receivers, Ayuk, Kupp, Pickens, Rice, Mims, Myers, Mitchell. And then he's got Thielen and Turpin. So I like this squad all the way around. I think it's a B. He's really high, like top loaded here. He spread it out and got all his starters and then just filled out the backups after that. So I like this squad. I don't see a whole lot of huge upside players, I guess.
Yeah.
It's probably a consistent team. Once again, I think this is likely a playoff team, but I don't know if it's a league winning team. There's not too many guys with blow up weeks, but you never know. I guess like ETN's a good volume play, and that's what do you think of this team?
Yeah, I think ETN fits this format really well, basically. We want the volume guys that are just going to get all the work receiving and rushing. If they have a lot of rushing, and ETN seems to be that guy just because Jaguars can't find anybody else in that backfield. So if it's similar to last year, he'll be a smash at that volume. But to your point, I'm left wanting a little bit more with this roster. It's kind of lacking a little bit of depth and a little bit of upside. But overall, I took some shots late. Like, I'm fine taking shots late. It's just I just wish there was a little bit more built into this roster because you have the two elite guys that started out, and then it's just there's a few question marks overall with a couple of those guys.
It just seems the second half, instead of like he filled out the starters pretty nice. Instead of shooting upside, it seems like he just went boring after, like Goddard, Zeke, Myers, Thielen. Like there's Flacco. There's some guys who could be consistent, but it just kind of the second half of the draft got really boring there, and I think it lacked upside. Yeah,
with those guys, I wonder like what's their upside? Like we talk about upside, what's their upside? Like how often do they hit your lineup, even if they're starting, right? Like that's the whole question mark with those guys. So if I'm shooting for upside, I want true upside. That's going to be like an impact guy on my roster starting because those guys, it's a little more questionable.
I really wish people would follow directions and post the Fantasy Life reviews. They're so much easier. This one's Disaster-ith. So he's got Burrow and Purdy. That's a nice duo. So he went QB early. McCaffrey with the 101, and then he's got. See, it's so hard to read these. McCaffrey, and then after that he's got Jalen Warren and Kendre Miller. So he's riding his entire running back room here is riding on Christian McCaffrey. He has DK as his one with Higgins, Cooper, Mims. So to me, it looks, and he's got Andrews here. So he invested heavily in quarterback and tight end. And then he's relying basically on CMC and just kind of whatever receivers fell. I don't hate this team. I just think if he has any injuries, he's completely fucked because there's no depth. Like he invested pretty highly in, like I said, quarterback, tight end. And if McCaffrey goes down, this team's dead in the water.
Well, yeah, I like on the value perspective, I much prefer Brock Purdy in the 4th as opposed to Joe Burrow in the 2nd. Purdy's one of the few guys that gave you over 2 WAR last year under these scoring positions. Like he's one of the few quarterbacks that did you for your roster. So like value wise, I like that. I think DK is a little bit undervalued just in general, but overall, like you got Andrews. The other wide receivers are kind of what worries me. The upside shot Mims is nice, but like with Cooper and Higgins, you're kind of left wondering like how impactful they could be. I think Cooper's a better bet than Higgins, so getting him that range, I'm fine with. But yeah, to your point, overall, like it's a solid roster. I'm kind of just like, we get to this question a lot. We're like, it gives them a chance, which, you could be happy with. But overall, it's just a little bit more bizarre.
How did it come up? Oh, because I didn't click the picture. Okay. All right. Next up, no, that's the one we did. Oh, my bad. He sent the screenshot after. I didn't see.
Where are the dummies?
he sent a follow-up. Well, he posted it twice. Better view on, My bad. So next up, we got Big Boned at FFB. Why does it always do that? I gotta click on the stupid thing. So what do you think here? He has the same first pick as I did. He got him a pick later or 2 picks later than me, but I'm happy. Thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get Amon-Ra. If you're taking that wide receiver there, you need him to be pushing for wide receiver one. So if you think he could do it, it's a good shot. It's just the only two really impact wide receivers outs are like CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase. Tyreek Hill. I'm all over the place right now. Those are the two wide receivers that'll give you the differentiator on WAR. You need Amon-Ra to take another step forward from what he did last year to pay off that. But he could. It's fine. Evan Ingram at tight end 4, like that seems a little bit risky. I would much rather get him in the back half of those guys, like tight end 8. Tight end 4, I feel like you're drafting him at his upside, but we'll see. Maybe he does it again this year. I just think with the change of the offense, it's kind of whatever.
Well, but that's the thing. Ingram killed it last year in this format, but he's got to be due for some regression, which is why, like based on last year, I don't mind it, but I don't want him at tight end 4. I think he was my tight end 7 this year. But
yeah, 100% with you. Like I know he didn't have the touchdowns, but like it's really hard for him to repeat what he did last year because last year he spiked up with a lot of stuff. So we'll see. Though I mean, those volume running backs in that range is fine. The question I have for that group is Zamir White. Like, is Zamir White going to get that volume? I know the Raiders talked about. I just don't think Zamir White's that good. So like, if you flipped another running back into Zamir White, I'd like that a lot better. But like the Hawkinson pick, I don't want to take him in the 8th personally, just because
you should have gone receiver or running back there for me.
Just wait. But like he got our favorite Deontay Johnson. Like we all love Deontay. I think we both drafted him at that pick or right next to that pick. And then Marvin Mims, that's the upside shot, who's going to be like a difference maker if he's on the special teams doing the receiving work. He's going to be awesome. The wide receivers late, Josh Downs' special teams work is good. Trey Tucker is another return guy. Like you can see towards the back half of the draft, he just took shots on the returners. I like the Dre May pick as your QB3 at the 1207. Another high rushing guy. So like that's the type of shot you should take. Overall, I like the back half of the draft, how he structured it. I wish maybe he took a little bit of like, instead of like Josh Downs, Ramon Douglas, Trey Tucker, I wish he maybe had a couple running backs differentiated in there just because guys that could step into volume. But overall, like this is like will be another like B roster for me.
Me too, but I would have taken a receiver or a running back over Hawkinson, but let's move on because at the rate we're going to be 4 hours on it. So we got to speed this up a little bit here. We're going far too long. Next up, we have Cesar Ruiz. This one is another one that's tough to read. His QBs are Deshaun Watson and Baker Mayfield. That's scary as hell. Brees as his running back with Mixon. This one's so tough. Then he's got Jonathan Brooks and a bunch of, Tyjae Spears, and then a bunch of probably dart throws. Receivers are Nico. Oh, it's Derrick Henry on here. I missed that.
Yeah, baby.
Receivers are Nico, Rashid, Rashi Rice. So I don't know. I feel like this is a draft where it's like, who did you pick in the first round? I guess
is it Brees?
Brees has got to be his first round pick.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I feel like this is one where if you told me he had traded his first 2 picks for future draft picks, I would believe you because I don't see the high end players on here. And this is probably my least favorite roster so far. I think this one's probably a C for me. I don't love it unless maybe would he take Kelsey in the second and Brees in the first? And
I think that's what he did. And then he probably went Henry in the third. So like that's kind of how this draft went. I like them leaning into the scoring of this format. I like what they did with those picks. Like Brees could be the RB1. We know Henry, like a couple years ago, he had 29 points per game in this format and the scoring, like he's there. It's just you need him to kick forward and avoid injury. I like the tight end. Outside of that, he picked a lot of guys we've talked about a lot with the Sheed, he and those guys. Like it's all about upside in that draft. So you could tell they orchestrated this roster for a lot of upside. Will it hit? I don't know, but taking a shot and living life. I like it. So this one I like a little more than you do because this is kind of how I orchestrate my drafts, but there's definitely a little bit less safety with this draft, I think.
If you look at his starting lineup, that's not very awe-inspiring.
Yeah, it's the Watson up there. If you had a better quarterback, you'd feel a lot better with it, but like it's also hard to read this roster. So who's he have in the Superflex spot?
Superflex is Baker.
Oh, it's Baker. Yeah, I don't like that one. That's where the issues show up.
Yeah, I don't love it. All right, next up, we've got a roster that's zoomed in a lot, but we'll try and read it here. So he's got Josh Allen, then Deshaun Watson, J.J. McCarthy. So I like the QB. If you believe in Watson, it's a little risky. Yeah. He went tight end here, Kincaid and Ingram. I don't hate that. Barkley and Cook is probably a decent combination. If you believe in Swift or Eckler, he's got some depth here. I don't love his wide receiving room. I like Evans. I like Deontay. I don't love Keenan Allen there, and then it falls off and gets into dart throw territory. I feel like this one's probably a B minus. Like, I think his strength is tight end. He's solid at QB. You just got to hope one of Watson or McCarthy hits. The wide receivers scare me. He's another one where he seems to have gone with a lot of the veterans here. Allen, Swift, Eckler, guys I don't necessarily know. Like, those guys, all three of them could conceivably be just completely cooked. I don't know. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, if you flip the drafting of Deontay and Keenan Allen, like those two, just how I have them ranked, like he got Deontay in the 11th. Like Deontay and Mike Evans, that's going to be a solid wide receiver room. Then you need Keenan Allen to be who he is. He's already wide receiver 36, so it's kind of disappointing. You really need, like you said, with this quarterback two step forward. So if it's Watson, like coolest scoring wasn't bad last year, or the rookie JJ McCarthy, and you go there. Like Eckler's the receiving guy. Outside of that, it's like I don't know why he took all those wide receivers he took from 16 to 19. Like a lot of those guys, there's no really I like Pop Douglas, but there's no special teams work on top of it. Yeah, like you need one or two of those guys to massively outperform what you're getting there, and it's possible.
The scariest part for me is 3 of his first 5 picks are Buffalo Bills, and I hate. I don't mind quarterback stacking with wide receiver or tight end, but when you have the quarterback and the tight end, I hate adding the running back because you're guaranteeing yourself less. Like you're cannibalizing your points. So I don't love that 3 of your first 5 picks are on the same team. Not great.
Yeah, I'd rather stack with a later option in the Buffalo Bills offense. It's a little bit riskier, 100%.
Yeah, that one scares the living shit out of me. Did I timestamp that one? I can't remember.
I'm not sure if you did.
1 sec.
There you go. It's all good.
Guys, 1945. Trying to do this so I don't have to go back and individually reply after and go through and watch every single one of these fucking videos. All right. Chance Osborne. I feel like we've seen a similar one to this. He went CD Lamb here. Pittman, Flowers, Reed, Deontay. So I like his wide receiver room. There's lots of upside there. Quarterbacks, again, I guess it's the value. It's not exciting. It's not terrible. It's not going to kill you. I like Laporta. I probably would have gone a little earlier than Sinat on your QB or tight end too, but I don't hate it. The running backs scare me here. You got to hope Ramondre still has something. And then your next one is Javonte, who we don't know. He could be cut, traded, whatever. Tyrone Tracy, Roshan, and Ali. I like all 3 of them. I think I drafted 3 of them. They're kind of dart throws. So, the running back room, he's really, if a Kyron Williams type comes on the waiver wire after week 1, this guy needs to be drafted, put his entire fab budget on him because that's what you need. I think this is probably a B minus for me. What do you think?
My whole issue is why are you taking Bryce Young when you have 2 non-mobile quarterbacks already on your roster? The chances of him ever playing for you are super minimal outside of that bye week. So, if I have my roster orchestrated with the non-rushing quarterbacks, I'm going to take the rushing quarterback late. And it's built for it with the scoring format. To your point, the wide receivers are where it's going to carry the roster. CD Lamb was one of the true difference makers of the format last year. If he pays off that again, you have Sam Laporta, the guy that could be the tight end 1. You need those running backs, so you need Ramondre to do his thing. You need Javonte. You have a lot of needs in the running back. Maybe it's Tyrone Tracy because he gets that special teams work. We'll see. We don't know, but it's a good upside bet to bait. You just need one of those running backs to hit late. If that happens, you got a really good kicker in Justin Tucker. I'm assuming this is not in NFL. It's a sleeper draft, so you don't have to worry about the rest of the stuff. But overall, he took Wicks, he took Beersall. If I have such running back needs, I probably would have switched those picks into guys who are more running back heavy, just because looking at my running back room, I would be taking more shots at running back than taking those wide receivers. Because they're I know it's just flex, but overall, those 4 wide receivers in front of them, they're not going to play over him more than likely. So I get it, but I would just chase where my weakness is, and that's at running back.
And that's my point, though. From 11, 12, and 13, he took kind of luxury picks here when I would have been throwing shots at, Chuba Hubbards of the world and just hoping I find myself a usable running back instead of Bryce Young, Justin Tucker, and Ben Sinnott. But that's just me. So I like the roster. I don't have much faith there in the running backs. Next one, I don't know what's to say. Hawk Tua. I don't know what the fuck this means. What do you think of this team?
Yeah, another guy could be the RB1, Brees Hall. Jonathan Taylor in the third, Isaiah Pacheco in the fourth. Like, that's really good value. You got Anthony Richardson 202. That's actually pretty late for Anthony Richardson goes. So maybe this draft was earlier because, like, you took him at 105. He went 106 in my league. So, yeah, and then he really leaned into the scoring format. So you have Debo, Rashid Shaheed, Marvin Mims, all back-to-back, 3 straight. That's upside shot for all days. That could pay off or burn you. So, like, that's how your draft is, is the 5 through 7 picks right there. I don't like the Hawkinson pick 8th. Like, we talked about this immensely. Like, I don't want the injury risk with the Hawkinson there. The Daniel Jones at QB2, it's fine. What he did is he backed it up with Drake May and Taysom Hill, so you can do Taysom Hill stuff there too. So, overall, he insulated himself with a rookie Drake May. Singletary is going to be a rushing volume guy. Like, that's fine. It's interesting that he took Tyrone Tracy on top of it too, so he's going to get the Giants RB1, whoever that's going to be. And then it's just, returners, which you could tell this person very much saw the scoring and was like, I'm taking a returner. So, for YOLO drafting, like this is like high-end YOLO drafting, I just don't know why you don't have another tight end on this roster if you have TJ Hawkinson. Because Hawkinson's not playing early, so who's playing tight end for you? Like, are you going to pick somebody up? That's the whole issue. Like, that seems like a major weakness on your roster. Outside of that, I really like the roster and like you leaning in the format. But yeah, I need some tight ends, man. Like, you can't go in just with TJ Hawkinson and nobody else on your roster. That one seems
Taysom Hill comes up as a quarterback on here.
Yeah, he could play both. So if you're gonna play Taysom Hill at tight end, I guess you could do it. But like
why would you play him at quarterback? That's anyways. But so I guess that's who he's assuming as his tight end too.
I guess.
Yeah. So I hate the Hawkinson pick. I don't mind Daniel Jones if you think he's got something left, but I get he's really going the return guys here. But if you want to go Shaheed, that's fine. But there had to be someone better than Mims at 7 and Shakir at 11. I don't love those picks at all. I feel like this is a situation where he may have – I think he took it too far, and I think he leaned too far into the kick returners. We've seen a few of those where people really went heavy on the kick returners, and I don't know. I took 1 or 2, but I don't want an entire team full of high variant, potentially bust kick returners. So
we got you, Tom Doran.
What's that?
Oh, there's Tom's comment talking about.
Can you handle the comments here?
I gotcha. Yep.
Yeah, I am way on the other screen trying to work this out. All right,
I'm with you, Jimmy.
Duke. We've got another team here with Lamar. Seen a lot of Baker. Then I like his tight ends. I like Pitts in the 3rd. I really like Njoku in the 6th. Mm-hmm. His receivers are Evans. I like Flowers. I like. Then he kind of goes really thin here. A couple of dart throws, a kick returner, and Gibson, which from what I've heard, Gibson might not. He's going to have the first crack, but it might not, or it might be not just him. So I don't love that. Running back, he's got Gibbs, Najee, Moss, Edwards. So he kind of went value hunting here. I like this roster all around. I think he has a nice balanced roster. I think this one's maybe an A- for me. I don't see a glaring weakness aside from the depth of his receiving core, and maybe his running backs lack a little bit of upside, but I like this one. I don't know. I think this one's an A- for me. This is one of the ones I like more than most so far.
Yeah, with Baker, I'm a little lower on Baker, so I would have rather gotten him later, or like shifted to a different quarterback. But like
20 though, they're going fast.
That's the thing you notice. And then he gets Bo Nix, the upside quarterback who has a late bye week. That's fine.
I like that a lot better.
Yeah, the running backs stand out as a weakness by far on this roster. Najee, Zach Moss, and Gus Edwards are the opposite of sexy, but they're going to get volume and be involved. This scoring format rewards it. So like those guys that works well in this roster. I like leaning into it. The back end, like I'm not concerned about Gibson at all. He's like one of the best returners in the league, so he's going to be the kickoff and punt return guy. Like he's not going to play any offense, so that is what it is. Juwan Johnson is interesting. He just got put on the NFI list, so he's probably not going to play for a long time. And then you just take shots on tight end late. He went the opposite way and leaned into the tight end boosted scoring. So instead of chasing all the returners, he chased a ton of tight ends late. And could that work out? Sure. You just need one of those guys to hit, and maybe it's Johnson. Maybe
any of those late ones.
I know that's the thing with late tight end. Like it's so ugly right now. But if we could look back in a couple months and like maybe Higbee hits or Zach Ertz is still the, you know what I'm saying? Like it could work out. But overall, yeah, like I like it. I'm a little bit like the back half of how it went. I'm just curious the thought process of all of the tight ends late because who those tight ends are, they've never really been impactful guys. Well, Zach Ertz has, but it's been years. So That's where you need. That's where it's really going to shift your draft. I like Douglas there, but he's been going a lot later, so I would have gotten like to get in that 17, 18
I would have rather gone with the rookie tight ends late, but that's just me.
It's just the tight end late this year is rough, man. It's so ugly.
Next up, we have Leap of Faith. What do you think here? Will I timestamp this bad boy?
Yeah, I mean, you go. It's really hard to hate on Patrick Mahomes, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's really nice. Brock Bowers, tight end 5 seems super risky. But if that's your guy, that's your guy. I would prefer Bowers in the tight end 10-ish range. Like, I just struggle to see the upside, but he's such a phenomenal talent. Like, I think we are discounting him a little too much. Ayuk, a very solid player. The Herbert pick, I love the Herbert pick. That's really. I was
going to say that I like that one.
That stands out. Like, I was contemplating Herbert in the 4th round, and I thought that was a steal. Getting him in the 5th round, that's money. And then you kind of get the volume running backs. Tajay Spears is the kick returner, and like he has upside. Tank Dell kick return upside as well. Ladd McConkey, DeAndre Hopkins, those guys, you just put them in your roster. You know you're going to get volume, and they're fine. The back half of the draft, he took an upside shot. Keon Coleman, Hunter Henry, and just a guy that's solid. He doesn't have upside, but he's more a guy that you can just plug and play as your tight end or flex. Then it gets a little interesting. I like the Drake May shot late. Like, that's a fun pick to take because of the format and how it rewards rushing quarterbacks. Gibson, Chandler, and then it's just get your guys. Like, you take a shot on a falling QJ, maybe he steps forward. Troy Franklin could be the wide receiver 1. And then, the last half, you just taking shots. I don't really care about picks 22 to 22 because it's really hard to find guys that are going to be in back to your roster. So overall, yeah, like I like the way she kind of just went with whoever fell in value and took the best player at ADP, which it's a pretty solid bet. I like this roster a lot. This is like an A-, B+ roster for me. I think it's really close to doing a nailing it all. I'm not a big fan of Swift, Montgomery, those guys. So those are my only cues with it. But overall, like I like the way she built this roster.
That was my thought. I don't think I want Bowers that high, and I don't like the running back room at all. I love the quarterbacks. I like the high-end receivers. I think this one's maybe a B- for me. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I love some of the high-end players. I'm not in on Bowers. Like I said, I think the running backs went way too high. The tight end went way too high, and I don't really love the running backs. Next up.
I think she took in that screenshot she attached, I think she was the highest drafted person on Brock Bowers. Yep, 306 right there. Yeah. Or was that her? Yeah. So like that's somebody that really, really likes Bowers. So hey, that's what this format's about. If you like your guy, go get your guy.
All right. This one is interesting. They punted quarterback, and considering they punted quarterback, Tua and Cousins isn't the worst. I like Pitts. Goddard is all right. Hill, Adams, Cup, Dell. I don't mind the wide receivers. Barkley, Eckler. I just feel like this is every position. It's like quarterback, okay. Tight end, Like I feel like this roster's just all around, It's okay. Like Tyreek Hill's nice, Barkley's nice, but I don't feel like this is going to have the long-term viability here. What do you think?
This roster is going to be carried by the wide receivers. So you have Adams, who's going to be a volume guy. Cooper Kupp, if he's past the injuries, he'll be really good. Tank Dell is the upside shot wide. DeAndre Hopkins, another wide receiver 1 on roster. So like you see those guys that did that. The running back room, they just took shots late. So like Jalen Wright, Jaleel McLaughlin, Alexander Madison. Yeah, the running back room is a little bit too desired outside of Barkley, but overall, it's fine. And if you're punting quarterbacks, like you said, like you could definitely do worse than Tua and Kirk Cousins. I think, like I don't know why Tua is going multiple rounds above Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is going to outscore Tua. Like that's just how that's going to work. So I don't understand why Tua is like so overvalued compared to Cousins. I like the value on that. I would have preferred someone else over Tua. I'm not a big Tua guy, but overall, like getting the elite tight end early, and then you get Dallas Goedert, another guy who will be a flexible, usable player. I like this roster. You just need those wide receivers to do their thing because if they fall short, it's going to hurt your roster and how it goes. And then there's the back half of the roster. Like I struggle to see the upside with a lot of those guys. So that's my more question mark on the back half of the roster. Like I would like to see a little bit more returners or guys. Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry. The issue for me is if you're going to have a team that's carried by the wide receivers, I'm not sure I want them to be old-ass wide receivers who, Adams and Kupp, we're getting close to the end of the line here. Dell is in a scary situation. D-Hop might be completely done. Sutton, like, I don't know. If I want that to be my strength, I think I want it to be a little stronger than that. But I don't know. They kind of went for a balanced build here, and it is balanced. It's just kind of boring. I think this build lacks upside is, I guess, how I would describe it.
Yeah, and Jamie's point on Jalen Wright, like my whole issue with Jalen Wright is he never saw over 14 carries in the season in his entire career. He's never been a volume guy, so he's going to have to be an efficiency guy, which you can do in the Miami offense. We've seen it. I just don't know how much usage he's ever going to see. So he's going to be like a Mostert light type player. And if you're that, like I would much rather go upper side. I'm not the Jalen Wright guy. So if you like Jalen Wright, then 100%, yeah, like get him in Miami, roll with it, and go for it. Just personally, he's not my guy.
All right, on to Brad R. Lucas. He starts with Lamar, punts QB2 to Aaron Rodgers. I guess there's worse quarterbacks for QB2, assuming he's healthy. You're not going to get any rushing, but oh well. Pretty decent running back room here. Seems like he kind of took the value picks. Barkley, Henry, Mixon, Brooks, Chubb, and Eckler are solid value if either of them has got anything left and they're healthy. Benson, if he gets a shot, I don't mind that. There seems like that could really be a strength for him. The wide receivers, I like Wilson, and then it falls off. Like, I don't hate Waddle. It's not necessarily a high upside wide receiver too. Then we got D-Hop, Sutton. Like, he's really betting on some older receivers before he doubles down on the two rookies here in Burton and Wilson. The tight ends, he punts tight end and goes Okonkwo, Sanders, and Parkinson. I guess you're just hoping one of the three is usable, like 10 points a game. So I don't love his tight end room here at all, but I don't know. It's there's some potential. I think you're just kind of hoping that the aging players, more likely the running backs that you drafted, like Henry, Mixon, Chubb, Eckler, Barkley, as an old ass running back room. I got to imagine at least one or two of them are going to be a bust. So.
Yeah, Jimmy nails that tight end room is scary. Like they completely punted tight end room. So if you're gonna punt like a position, like you kind of just have to take shots. I commend them for taking shots late and just like seeing if one of those guys hits, because all you really need is one of those guys to be like top 12, 15, and you'll be passable at the position. Is it likely from those guys? Maybe not, but overall, like at least like them taking shots. Yeah, I actually like the top half of this roster. Once we get past DeAndre Hopkins, like there's where the question marks start to come in. You need Nick Chubb to come back. Austin Eckler needs to regress. Trey Benson needs to take a step forward. But overall, like I like the first half of these rosters. I like them getting in. I'm personally in on Waddle late. Like in that, I think that's like very much the floor play for Waddle. Like we've seen him be really good. Garrett Wilson could be the wide receiver 1 in the 4th round. And then you get the high impact running back. So overall, like you got Lamar Jackson. I would have liked to have seen a QB3 on this roster somewhere. And maybe their plan is just to scrap it and just throw like a flex play guy in the super flex spot on that week without Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, like this roster could hit really well. It's just you need a lot to go right. Overall, like I like the first half of this roster. Like that's an A for me. They did a really good job. Once they got to Nick Chubb, I just switched it there. The back half of the roster, I'm like, I'd kind of tinker with a little bit. So if we could split this into 2 reviews, I'd like it a lot more, but overall it's fine.
And that's it. I don't grade the second half of the roster too harshly, because a lot of them, it's just you're going for high upside backups here. But
100%.
I focus on it a little more in this case because one of your starters is going to be on the back half of this at tight end. So it matters a little bit more than for most people where, okay, you're a kicker, that's going to be a starter. But like if you have your tight end your starting tight end is on the second half of this, I don't love it. And that kind of dings the roster a bit for me. Next up,
you can see the quarterbacks going early. Like that one, QB20 was the 8th round. Earlier, we had QB20 going the 5th round. So you can tell like how each draft impacts each roster. You gotta have to switch. To Waffle23, your question, go to our Twitter. It's like linked on our Twitter page. Just put it in there, the screenshot of the Fantasy Life roster at the bottom, and we will get to it at some point this week.
If you see the one I'm posting on right now, don't do that. There's 3 threads. This is the one we've got 10 left, and this is going to be to finish off the current thread that I'm time stamping. So post it on one of the other 2 ones, because those are the other 2 threads we're going to work our way through this week.
And if you have a question, just shoot us a DM. Like, I will help you with it. Yeah.
So this roster, we got another one that kind of punted QB and went with Tua and Geno. I like the value on Geno more than I like it on Tua. He's got Penix and Winston late. That's wasted picks in my opinion. So his running backs, he's got Bijan, which is nice. Connor and Moss, I think, can be late value. Yep. Chandler, Dowdle, Vidal, Patterson. You got the kick return guy and 3 guys with potential upside. I like Trey McBride in the 3rd round. I like Ferguson in the 6th round. So his tight end is a strength. He'll probably be flexing one of them. Wide receiver, he went St. Brown, Waddle, Dell. which are 3 solid ones. Then he's got JSN as the upside. He's got Pop Douglas, which is some upside. And then we've got Gibson, the kick returner, and Rondell Moore, who the hell knows? He's a dart throw. So I don't mind this overall. I don't. I mean, his quarterback room is kind of weak. He needs to hope that Geno can – what he needs to hope that Geno and Tua can get back to being in the range of somewhere between QB 10 and 15. He needs QB. It's not going to win him the league. He needs QB to not lose him the league is basically how I'm looking at this one.
100%. Like what you need is Tua to do something he's never done before and is be a difference-making scorer. Like 2 years ago, Geno was at 19 points per game. If you can get both these guys into that range, because the whole pick with Tua is like, I just don't see the upside. So taking him in the 4th round, but look, there's only 9 quarterbacks that went from the 4th round to the 9th round, like where he got Geno. So you can kind of tell people hammered quarterbacks early, and then they just punted the position pretty much for a long time until that we get to the 9th round. So they felt like they had to take Tua there, and I don't blame them taking that shot because you're like, I'm going to miss out completely. So I get it. But yeah, you get Bijan, you got Amon-Ra, Trey McBride. That's 3 guys who could be the overall one player at the position. I like Waddle. I like Ferguson. I like Tank Dell. I like a lot of these guys. Connor, Zach Moss, volume guys. It's, Connor's going to get hurt, but as long as he's healthy majority of the year, it's fine. And then, like you said, overall, this is a pretty good roster. With the quarterbacks they took, so instead of Taysom Hill, I would have taken one of these young rushing quarterbacks to kind of give myself upside with those guys. Like if it's a Bo, Nick, Drake May, any one of those players, that's a player I would have targeted over like, Ty Chandler or Xavier Gibson or whoever it is, because Taysom Hill was QB 31. So that shows you those guys were still available in that range. Like they could have got that.
He comes up as a QB on this fucking system. He should be a tight end, Taysom Hill.
It's going to frustrate people if he's both. He's a quarterback and a tight end. You can play him in either position.
I get it, but nobody's playing him as a quarterback, which is why
it's an emergency quarterback situation because like that's a rough play. So yeah, don't play him at quarterbacks, folks.
The value of Taysom Hill is as a tight end. That's the whole reason why he's still a thing in 2024. But
yeah, and it's super sketchy at best.
Next up, we've got Jalen Hurts early here, followed by Deshaun Watson. He also has Sam Darnold, who could be the starter in Minnesota to start off, but we'll see. Tight ends are Kittle and Bowers. Don't mind that. He's also got Bellinger. I'm a Theo Johnson guy, but if you believe in Bellinger like you guys do, that's fine. Receivers, he kind of went upside here. AJB, Marvin Harrison, Zay Flowers. Then he's got Keenan Allen for depth. I don't love your depth receiver being the only guy and being the old injury-prone guy. Kamara, Pollard, Javonte, J.K. Dobbins, Kendre Miller, Elijah Missile, Naheem Hines, and Kenny Nwangwu, who you took, I seen earlier doing graphics. That's a scary room. I'm assuming this is an MFL draft. I took 2 kickers. I don't know why you would take 4 unless this is an MFL draft. If it's an MFL draft, I love what he did here.
I only know that because I almost did the Doc Holiday division, but then I found out it was on MFL. So I went to one that was on Sleeper. But
then I was going to do Doc Holiday. Taking 4 kickers. This is what I did when I was on MFL a few years ago. I loaded up on kickers, and I love this. If it's on Sleeper, which it's not, I don't love it.
Yeah, this is MFL. No, they took advantage of the scoring format. That's something Scott's talked about specifically. Like they were surprised people don't do this on MFL. Like this is something you just don't see teams doing. They don't take multiple shots on kicker.
I wish you could do it on Sleeper. I wish Sleeper would add that specialty flex.
That'd be fun. I would have liked to take some kickers and had a few guys. I would have felt a lot better about being able to do that on Sleeper because we know people aren't going to do it. Like that's what they talked about specifically. But overall, that's what I love. I like this roster for the most part. Marvin Harrison Jr., AJ Brown, like that's really good wide receiver. What they did is they don't really want to take any more wide receivers past those 4 guys because they got Keenan Allen, wide receiver 41. Like that's pretty good value as far as Keenan Allen goes. And then they're just like scrap it because it's really hard for wide receivers to make impact right in the scoring. So they just went to other positions. So I like them seeing what the scoring was and going in a different way from it. Like you need the thing with Alvin Kamara, Tony Pollard, Javonte Williams is they all have like holes in their game, like questionable volume and stuff like that. So if those guys do what we've seen in the past, like I think you'll be happy with it. It's just that's what your draft depends on. Because overall, I did a pretty good job with this roster, I think.
Assuming that you're right and this is MFL, I don't mind the receivers as much now because you're assuming they're going to be flexing 2 or 3 kickers here and Keenan Allen's going to be on the bench. Like the roster looks a lot better when you're assuming that. So maybe they start Kamara, they start the 3 receivers, but Pollard, Allen, and Javonte could all conceivably be bench players here. And you have Butker, Elliott, Groupie, they're flexing these guys. So I don't hate that one. That one.
Yeah, and they could flex the kick returners like Kenny Nwangu is going to give you 1,000 yards kick return. So you could flex those guys into your roster and be fine with this roster. This team looks like they're going to be for sure make the playoffs. Like I'd be shocked if this team missed the playoffs based on how they orchestrated this roster. It's just really if you're dealing with the injury or guys that suffer like Kamara, Pollard, Javonte, they all struggle. Keenan Allen gets hurt, stuff like that. Overall, I like this roster though.
I just had a heart attack.
You okay?
I just had a heart attack. You see me jump? I heard the dog whining, and I don't. Did you just get here? Oh my God! I was expecting my girlfriend to show up, and I didn't know she was here. And I looked over, and she's sitting on the couch in the living room.
You're like, ah!
Yeah, I literally jumped. I was like, "What's the dog whining about?" I'm like, "Maybe she's here, and I need to open the door." But then she's sitting on the couch, scared the shit right out of me. You see me go?
Yeah.
Jump right out of my seat. I wasn't expecting a person to be sitting on the couch when I looked over.
I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah.
I timestamped that one. Scared the shit right out of me. All right, we can move on to the next one here. We've only got a handful more of these left. We got to kind of pick up the pace a bit. Yeah. So we have another team here that kind of punted quarterback a bit, Purdy and Mayfield. Then they've got Minshew, who could be the starter, Brissett, who could also be the starter, I guess. They went with CMC, Kamara, Connor, Dobbins. So their running back room thins out pretty quickly. Kelsey, and then not a whole lot else at tight end. And they loaded up on receivers.
Yeah.
I don't love in this format, but Harrison, Pittman, Watson, JSN, Sutton, Hopkins, Myers, like it's a decent team. If you told me I had to pick one position that I didn't want to load up on in this format, I don't want to load up on wide receiver. It just seems like it's the least likely to give you upside.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if Simba's on MFL or not, and it doesn't say, which is unfortunate. I think it might be because they went back-to-back place kickers there, and I was like, oh, that's interesting with Moody and Gay back-to-back. We'll see. Overall, yeah, like I just don't understand why you're taking that. All those wide receivers there, like we saw Courtland Sutton, like it's a rookie quarterback. It's really hard for rookie quarterbacks to support. DeAndre Hopkins, like I actually like the value a lot in DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 51. That's absurd. Jacoby Myers is a little bit more questionable. Bellinger, like if you like the tight end there at that point, sure. So it's interesting that they took the two kickers back to back that range. So if this is an MFL, I feel a little bit better about that. So then you can play those two guys. If it's sleeper taking them back to back that early, I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Yeah, like that's what I like. Jamie's doing that. So like if you're able to do that in sleeper, I think it'll be a lot more fun. I just don't know.
I started 4 in SFU 12 on MFL. I had one. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But I'm saying like it's a good way to orchestrate your roster and give yourself some like high end, floor plays. They're not really going to give you the ceiling. Sometimes they can, but it's more just like the difference between the kicker 1 and the kicker 15 is not that much in the scoring format. So like, unless it's MFL, then I like it a little bit more. Outside of that, I would just wait on the second kicker because you're going to get a guy that's going to give you silver production.
I got a draft I'm doing later where I'm loading up on kicker because I looked and you get 3 points per extra point, 1 point for every field goal. And then instead of 0.1 per field goal yard, it's 0.2. So I like, if nobody read these, the kickers are way valued, but
yeah, it's like double. It's a lot of points more.
We got Josh Allen here. Then he punts and kind of goes with Cousins, who I don't love. I like Drake May as a late dart throw, AOC in there. He's got Butker as his only kicker. Back-to-back tight ends here looks nice. Andrews and Kittle. Barkley, Javonte, Mostert. So his running back room leaves a lot to be desired. Punted wide receiver went with Nico, Reed, Rice, Coleman. So basically he just threw darts and went with high upside. So he's light at running back and he went all or nothing basically on wide receiver. I think this team could be really good. It seems like it's a wide range of outcomes here. It could be a total dud. It could be a monster depending on what hits. So,
especially with Jaden Reed and Rashee Rice and those like your middle wide receivers in that range. Raheem Mostert, like his range of outcomes seems pretty massive this year. Javonte, another guy, like you could talk yourself in and out of this roster really easily. I like the Dre May pick to back up with Kirk Cousins. The Kirk Cousins at QB 19, like that the quarterback was getting pushed up early. But yeah, overall, I like this roster. I just don't know why they hammered wide receivers so much. They absolutely just crushed wide receivers from 15 on. Like that's all they took. So I would love to hear the strategy on why they went about doing this. Maybe they just really liked those individual players at that range pick because like McMillan, Baker, like Burton, like what's the upside with all of those guys? Like I like Wicks and Downs doing special teams work. So like you can talk to some of those guys, but Walker and Washington. I'm assuming they just really like those wide receivers because otherwise I just have questions on why you're handling wide receivers as opposed to other positions this late.
Yeah, I did. I think I went on a 4 wide receiver run around this 15 to 19 range, but mine were, I think I had Baker in there, but then I had Franklin. It was all guys that I seen as upside who could, like Coleman, I think I got who fell. They're all guys who have a path to being the number one. Like, I don't see where McMillan's going to be the 3 at best. Burton's
he's
the
gonna
3
return
at
punts
best.
and stuff. Yeah.
Washington's like most of these guys are the 3 at best. And if I want to go with rookie upside for wide receivers, I don't necessarily think that was the way to go. Okay, move on here to this one that is not done yet. I don't know why they didn't just wait and add it in later, but really punted quarterback here went Watson, Rodgers, Bryce Young. That's gross. All because they stacked up tight end early with Kittle and Kincaid. Hall, Rashad White, Zach Moss, Algier Patterson. So this roster sacrificed a whole lot to have some nice looking tight ends here. St. Brown, Cooper, Reed, Dortch. It's amazing. I mean, it's tough because this roster feels so incomplete, but it's incomplete.
I mean, they're not finished also. Yeah, right, exactly.
Tough to really judge here, but I don't know. If I'm going to punt quarterback completely, I think I'd like to have a more stacked roster than this.
Yeah, the Dortch pick, like I get it. Like I've been pounding the table for Dortch. That's really, really early for Dortch because he was going in like the 17th through 20. So taking him in the 13th round, you're really bullish on what Dortch does in the scoring format. But overall, like with those quarterbacks, I'm not taking Bryce Young if I have my QB2's Rodgers because like how does Bryce Young play outside of Rodgers' injury except for the 1 week? Like if I'm taking upside shot on my QB3, that's not Bryce Young. So like unless I had like super like mobile quarterbacks, then I would maybe consider Bryce Young. But if I got Watson and Rodgers, like I'm not taking Bryce Young. Like the upside's just really not. I don't see that with him. So that's my question mark every time I see Bryce Young. It's gonna be 3 with quarterbacks that are like passers. I'm just wondering what the decision making on that. Overall, you get Cooper's. He's good. He's a value wide receiver 1 in a roster. Jaden Reed has upside. Rashad White's a volume guy. Zach Moss is a volume guy. Like yeah, overall, I don't mind this roster. They went with the 2 tight ends, the elite tight ends in the top 6 rounds, which was like kind of our strategy that I like. Overall, you just need those high-end guys to pay off for you. And then the back half of the roster, you need Patterson, and then one of those like those tight ends, if it's Henry, Bellinger, Knox, really take a step forward and help you.
But if you're light at wide receiver and running back and you're stacked at tight end, why not use these 3 late dart throws on maybe take 1 tight end, but why are you taking 3 relatively low upside tight ends here? That's what I don't understand.
It's the scoring format. They're thinking too much in the scoring format, but like when you look at the projections, like those guys really don't give you an edge even with the boost in scoring. So like that's kind of where it's like, oh, it's a triple tight end boost. But like you look at their projections, like I'd rather just take upside your outside position. That's kind of yeah, exactly. So,
we have another one of these sleeper strip rosters here, which I hate. But Mahomes and Herbert at quarterback. It's so tough to see. I don't think he has a backup. He has Bo Nix. So he's solid at quarterback. Running back, he has Saquon, ETN. Don't mind me. I'm scrolling through this as best I can. Kendre Miller, Ty Chandler, Elijah Mitchell, Bigsby. So he's light at running back. Wide receiver, he goes Waddle, DJ Moore, Cooper. Oh, he had David Montgomery as well. Xavier Worthy, Keon Coleman. So he went kind of boring with running back, high upside with the wide receivers. Tight ends, he has Michael Mayer, Greg Dulcich, Hunter Henry, and the starters, Luke Musgrave. So we have another person who has 4 tight ends here, but aside Musgrave, I guess could be okay. But what's the upside really of Henry, Dulcich, and Mayer, even in this format? Those seem like wasted picks, so I don't know.
Yeah, that you can tell they just punted tight end, right? So they just punted tight end. They're just taking shots. I overall, like I get the strategy. You might disagree on the tight ends they picked, but like I get the thought process, understanding of like what they're going with this because they're like, well, if I'm going to punt it, I'm just going to take a bunch of shots on it. Totally fine doing that if that's the way you do it. As opposed to the last roster, which had 2 elite tight ends already. It's like, why are you taking the upside shots on those guys, right? So I don't mind it. I like the roster construction from doing it from that perspective. I just, maybe we disagree on the tight ends. It's just what it is.
Did you pick that by mistake or did I do that?
No, so when they have the zoomed in ones, I'll just go full screen layout.
So I looked over and I was like, what the hell just happened to our screen?
Yeah, I can't read it at all if we don't have it there. I'm like,
yeah,
man.
no, I'm on the other screen because I'm doing all the I'm time stamping and bringing up the rosters and that. And I just happened to switch back over and I said, "What the fuck happened?"
Yeah, because like when I couldn't read it. I was like, dude, I'm blind. I need to zoom this in where I can't see it.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna lie. I can't see those ones on my screen. That's why I hate them. So please, in the future, send in the My Fantasy Life ones. Those are much better. The next one we have here: Dak Baker, Daniel Jones. I love in the 12th round. Sam Howell. Yeah. I like the team that had Geno. I would have handcuffed Sam Howell there instead of Michael Penix late. That's the quarterback. I forgot who the backup was. It was Howell. Engram in the 4th round, I don't mind. Then he waits. I don't mind Henry and Sanders here late when you only have one early tight end. McCaffrey, Henry, Aaron Jones, Miller, Vidal. So he's betting again on some aging running backs. I don't mind him. It's a decent room. Kind of punted wide receiver here. He got the Shaheed as the wide receiver one like you did. Somehow Neighbors was available. I don't know. I like Shaheed in this format, but I'm taking Neighbors over Shaheed. He went real upside here to start. He went Neighbors, Adunze. He's got Brian Thomas, adds in Ridley's old ass.
All the rookies.
I don't love what he's doing late. I get Turpin's the return guy, but I don't love Corley, Gold, Thielen, and then he has one kicker. So I don't mind this team all the way around. It's another team where it kind of lacks upside and excitement. It's just, aside from three or a couple of his rookie receivers here really hitting upside, we just kind of know what this team is, and they're good. I just don't see it as great.
Yeah, with the whole Mike Williams injury thing, like we could see Malachi Corley being the number 2 option in the passing game on that offense. Like it's entirely possible until Williams gets back to being healthy. So early on, like with Corley, like I've kind of come around because the Mike Williams stuff, like we don't know when he's going to play. So overall, it makes it with Turpin, Gold. Those guys are both returners. Gold's the rookie from Oregon State. He's going to do a lot of return game, both of those. So he could be the kick returner and the punt returner. I know they have downs, but Gold's just a better returner, so he might be both of those guys. Did I?
Did I do it? It could have been me. I don't remember. I do too many.
Jamie,
I was sitting there going, was this me or was this you?
With Father Dynasty, I don't remember that name. Maybe I did. In my memory just.
I do know that name, and I have been on that show. I don't remember.
I'm assuming it's you because I was like, I don't know that name.
The problem is, it could have been pre-recorded like a month ago, and they just released it now. I don't necessarily have the best memory. We talked about this last night when we were posting guest spots, and I don't necessarily have the best memory for which shows I have.
Lately. For those in the industry, it blurs together for a long time because you just do so much stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, we did that. But yeah, that is strictly like the upside play. So overall, if you're gonna YOLO it, like I like them YOLOing it. It's gonna be just up and down. Like you just know that going in. It's gonna be a wild ride.
All right, 3 more. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, Anthony Richardson. We all love Anthony Richardson. Hold on.
Oh, I was
all right, sorry about that.
You muted yourself.
No, yeah. I like Kincaid. Jacobs is a volume play.
It was me.
I posted yesterday.
I wonder because it must have been recorded like a month ago and he just posted it because I haven't even seen it posted yet. He didn't tag me in it. I can tell you whatever it wasn't live because I did nothing yesterday.
That was like earlier in the offseason. I did Paul Patterson's podcast and he like dropped it a month later and I completely forgot about it. And then I got a notification. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I did this podcast. But
I'm going to look that up to see if I can find it. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure it's ongoing for 2, so yeah, it should be easy to find. Neighbors is a fun pick in that range. Like he's kind of being drafted, like people just don't want to take him. So in the 6th round, take a shot on that wide receiver to go along with Puka. Then you get the running backs. Everybody loves Jalen Warren. Javonte Williams is interesting. He could hit. He could bust. I don't know what to do with Javonte Williams. He's a little risky. Aaron Jones, an aging back. It's another guy I'm a little bit iffy on. Gus Edwards, who you'll get rushing work from him. And then it's just upside with JSN. You take a shot on Chuba Hubbard. And then it's every freaking wide receiver known to man. Again, I question these wide receivers, like why people are going so heavy with these wide receivers late. My thought process, it's like we've been tricked. Like we all kind of fall into this because the wide receivers are so deep. Those are the best guys available. So I'm assuming what we're seeing with a lot of these rosters is DeMarcus Robinson. He's the wide receiver 3 in LA. Like there's upside there. Luke McCaffrey's a rookie. Maybe he can take a step forward. With drafting this many wide receivers that late, like what's the upside path for a lot of those guys? And a lot of those guys, it's really hard in the scoring for them to be a difference maker for you. So like, I get like why we draft rosters this way, but I would overall lead into other positions to try to get the upside of positions. Because, hey, man, if you like your wide receivers, it's just go for it.
You want to see something even worse? I misread what he had. Oh, sorry, this one. I misread what he said. I did a home and home with that guy. The one he's talking about that was posted yesterday. My show. It was mine. It was the Carolina Panthers preview. Yeah.
So we're doing too much. We're doing too much.
Don't you tell me I'm not overworked, motherfucker. I don't even remember.
No, yeah, not at all. Not at all.
We're at the 1 hour mark. Let's get going here. I think we only have 2 left. What do you think of this one while I timestamp it?
Yeah, I mean, you got Herbert in the 3rd at quarterback 12. Like, that's for punting in the first 2 rounds, being able to get Justin Herbert. Now, I'm not a big fan of the Tua pick on the turn because you're getting that QB 13, which is something he's never really been for you. So I like the idea of punting where you get true elite difference makers in CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown. You could lock those guys up, and then you go quarterback. I just prefer to go someone besides Tua. Ferguson's kind of the last volume tight end we can count on. So, like, getting him. And then you hammer running back. You got Zamir White, DeAndre Swift, James Cook. That seems really like a questionable group of running backs. But overall, like, I get the strategy behind it. I like James Cook, 280, like I'm a James Cook guy. Then we get the wide receivers and the upside with the Marvin Mims, Jerome Ledunze. Then we got, outside of that, the Jordan Addison pick's interesting because of the suspension. I'm a little bit lower than him, or the expected suspension. So we'll see what happens with him, but he was already discounted. The back half is just upside shots. Jatavian Sanders, maybe he could be the tight end 1 in Carolina. Gardner Minshew is your quarterback 3. Charbonnet is a good pick and really good value in that range. There's some receiving work with Gibson, Kayvon Turpin. And then it's just running backs and kickers to round it out. So, like, I like how they went about orchestrating this roster. We'll see if it works out for them. You're really going to need those picks 6 through 11 to hit for you, and we'll see if it happens. I like a few of those guys a lot, and we'll sign out about midway through, and you'll know one way or the other. You're like, yep, it worked out, or oh boy, I'm in trouble. Like, that's the type of roster that is. So, but overall, I like the construction.
We got 1 left, and it's a painful
all right, I'll full screen it.
I'll run through it with you. So the quarterbacks are, don't mind me as I zoom in on this, Jared Goff, Deshaun Watson, no other quarterback, so I don't love that. He clearly punted quarterback. Running backs, he's got Pacheco, Ken Walker, Zach Moss, Kendre Miller, Elijah Mitchell, and Audric Estime, so I don't love his running back room either. Wide receiver, he's got Tyreek, St. Brown, McLaurin, Rice, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Polk, Burton. So we see where he invested most of his capital. Tight end, he's got Trey McBride, Pat Freiermuth, and Greg Dulcich. So and Noah Fant. So it looks like he invested pretty heavily in wide receiver and tight end and kind of punted elsewhere. I don't love this team. I don't know if it's necessarily going to have enough to get it done. What do you think?
Yeah, like, with a lot of these guys, like, you have question marks going into your roster, so you kind of need them to take a step forward. I know, like, we've kind of been pounding the table for Moss in that backfield, so, like, getting him there, that's fine value. I don't mind him there. We really need Terry McLaurin to be the guy people have talked about him being. You need him to step forward because, like, you need someone like that to take a jump for your roster. You're getting him in the middle of the late first half, top 10 rounds. That's what you need because you have Tyreek. Like, I like Pacheco, I like McBride, you like Almonra. You kind of have the guys. Walker's risky just because I don't know how much volume he's going to see. So, like, there's that. And then the back half is just, like, taking shots. I'm kind of with you. This roster leaves a little bit more to be desired just with, like, the players they took and how they orchestrate it. But with a lot of these guys, like, taking the back half shots on rookie wide receivers, I don't mind because if you're going to bet on rookies, it's usually a better bet later in drafts because the upside is there just because of the unknown with those guys. So overall, like, yeah, that's fine. They kind of supplemented their roster a little bit different way than I would personally, but overall, it's like I think that one's more like closer to a C+ roster for me. It just leaves a little bit that I'm like, not my style either.
And that is a wrap on that. Check back tomorrow. That was just 1 thread. We still have 2 more threads full of them. That went an hour and 3 minutes. So I'm sure this is going to be 1 sec. There we go. Did you see the roster I posted? It might have been on one of the other threads, Jamie. We have 2 more threads to go through over the next 4 days. So we have about another 200 of these to go through. I was amazed at just how many we got. So check back tomorrow. I think tomorrow it might be me and Jeremy. Tomorrow we're up in the air because you said you're out, right? Yeah, I think Jeremy might be out. So unless I can get someone to pinch hit, we may have to postpone that or do it later in the day. But check back tomorrow or at very latest Wednesday, and we will get through the rest of them this week. Thank you all for tuning in. Take care, and we'll catch you next time.